Our scripture today is about someone who stood toe to toe with Jesus, yet could not see that it was Jesus. How's that happen? Well, I want to talk about that this morning. And I simply want to answer two questions. Question number one is this: what keeps us from seeing Jesus in our lives? Question number two is this: what does Jesus do about that? Well, regarding the first question, we need to go back up to John chapter 20, verse 1. That's where the story began, where Mary Magdalene went to the tomb of Christ in order to finish preparing his body for burial. And Mary arrives and she sees that the stone has been moved. And she panics and she runs to tell Simon Peter and John. Grave robbers. Chapter 20, verse 2 says, they have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have put him. She returns to the tomb. She's bereft. And she peers inside, and she sees evidently what Peter and John did not see. The scripture says, 2 angels in white. The angels look at Mary. Why are you weeping? She says, they've taken away the Lord, and I don't know where they put him. I mean, she still thinks the body's been stolen. I mean, she just fixed on that thought. No, that's what happened, she believes. They not only killed him, they stole the corpse. Verse 14 says, having said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there. But she didn't know it was Jesus. How is it possible to be looking at Jesus right in the eye and yet not see that it's Jesus? Her grief has blinded her from the real Jesus. This grief grounded in earthly expectations. And right at the moment, those expectations had overruled everything. Everything, to the degree that she's there right in front, looking at Jesus in the eye, asking him where he put himself. You know who she reminds me of? Me. That's me. Is that not us? I mean, the reason why she didn't see Jesus when he was standing in front of her is the same reason we don't. And it's this: grand hopes, small Messiah. She was passionately pursuing a pint-sized Christ. And we do that. If we're going to be honest, we do that. God, I want you to answer my prayers. God, get me that job. Heal my disease. Fix my child. Answer me. And if Christ doesn't answer to our satisfaction, well, then maybe he's not who we thought he was. Well, he's not. That's the point. In Romans chapter 3, verse 10, Paul says, no one seeks for God. And he doesn't mean that no one seeks spirituality or matters of the divine. No, what he means is that no one seeks the true God, because instead we want a God who fits into our little boxes. We want a God who agrees with us. A God who cooperates. God, I wish you would just cooperate with me. Sometimes you just got to say something out loud to realize how silly it sounds. We want a God who doesn't contradict our personal narratives. Mary's picture of Jesus did not fit the real Jesus standing before her. Grand hopes, small Messiah. Well, here's question number 2. What's Jesus do about that? You see, here's the beauty of the gospel. Mary's never going to get it on her own. She's not. No, she needs help. And that's the gospel. Because her awakening does not rely on the slender thread of her effort, but the unbreakable beam of Christ's grace. Jesus breaks through her grief to give her faith. And so here's our big idea. When our grand hopes fail, Christ calls. with irresistible mercy. His mercy broke through and commissioned this dear woman. His mercy called, and she who came to the tomb as a mortician left as a missionary. The very first missionary. Mary was the first to announce the good news of the resurrection. And so for one brief moment, she is the church. And she's been called the apostle to the apostles. You may have grand hopes in a small Messiah, but Jesus isn't small. He's calling.